Hey beautiful people, thank you so much for joining in. Guys, in this particular video, we will understand what is a domain name and everything that you should know about a domain name in order to launch your website and make it public for your target audience. So guys, as I mentioned in my earlier videos, that domain name is an identity of your website. Just like your name, your website also requires a name and address which users can easily remember so that they can access your website. So domain name, you can understand in a nutshell that it is an identity or it is an address for your website. Just like facebook.com, youtube.com, or maybe google.com. So whatever website you visit, it has a proper domain name, and with this domain name or with a particular domain name, a user can easily access a website. Now, the question arises that why is domain name required? I mean, what was the need of this domain name? So previously, or I say initially, when internet was launched and the websites were not so popular, so initially in order to recognize website or in order to provide them an address, the IP protocol was used, that is internet protocol. So it was a numeric value, as you can see on my screen. So let's say if any website we want to give it a name, so previously we used to give them an IP address that was something like 50.63.201.97. But this was hard to remember. For every user, it is not possible that you remember 10 address like this or maybe 20 addresses like this. It is not possible. If you remember your previous days when mobile was not invented, landline was there used to be a phone directory in which everybody's telephone number was mentioned, and we used to keep that phone directory in our house or in our office, because we could not remember these many numbers. So similarly, people could not remember these kind of address having so much numbers and almost 10 or 12 digit numbers. So people were facing problems. Then this concept of domain name was introduced, said instead of this, they can easily remember the English or maybe the human readable format of address, that is like facebook.com, youtube.com, or google.com. So that's why it was introduced, and that's why nowadays in order to access any website, you don't need to remember the IP address, you just need to remember the domain name, and by using that domain name, anybody or everybody can access your website from any part of the world. So that is the advantage of having a domain name. Now let's understand various parts of a domain name, or I would say various parts of a URL. On your screen, you can see that I have noted down a domain name and I have differentiated all parts of it by using some annotations. So if you start from bottom, so the entire part which is written starting from HTTP and ending with HTML, this entire word, entire line, or you can say entire phrase is called as URL, that is Uniform Resource Locator. This is a complete address, or this is a complete path of any resource on internet. Now let's break down the part of this URL. So on the left hand side, if you go a little above, on the left hand side you can see HTTPS. So HTTP means Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and S denotes security. So these are the set of rules which are called protocols in order to interact with the internet. So there are certain rules, but you as a non-technical person don't need to dive into it much detail, because these are not very essential in order to create a website. You just need to have a look at them, or maybe if you want to just get some basic knowledge about the various parts of a URL, you can do that. Otherwise, it is not necessary to understand each and everything in detail. Now let's go on one step above, that is subdomain. So if you see that test is called subdomain, it can be anything, XYZ, AB, ABC. It can be short as one letter, it can be long as much, and you want to make it. So this is called subdomain. Now on the right hand side, this is called your domain name, just like facebook.com, youtube.com, google.com. This is called the main domain name. And after that, if you see there is some text after slash, that is services.html, it can be anything. It denotes a particular path or particular section or particular page, web page on your website. It shows the user that there is a page, there is a web page called services.html. So these are the various parts of a URL. It includes domain name, transfer protocol, subdomain, path, and everything else. So I have explained everything in detail so that you should know which part stands for what meaning.